Welcome to this Cambridge A-Level past paper tutorial in which we are going to look at specimen paper for examination from 2025. So continuing from the first part, our main focus will be on question 3, in which we are required to create this animation of a bird flying into the distance. As the question reads, it says, use your island and 3 images to create an animation with a bird flying into the distance. The bird must tween between 2 images. Wings fully spread, bird 1. Wings raised, bird 2. Save the images of the bird as bird 1 and bird underscore 1 underscore and bird underscore 2 underscore followed by your center number, candidate number. And then it gives an example of how we should save it. Now we have to set the stage or frame to black and 500 pixels wide by 500 pixels high. The bird must enter from the left and follow the path to each position shown. Note that it flies behind the palm tree and appears smaller as it flies into the distance. Then we are given sequence of events or sequence of scenarios of how the bird begins its flight in its various positions, and how it flies behind a palm tree, and then how it flies out of our scene. We are to save the animation as an animated GIF named island scene underscore followed by your center number and candidate number, and then it gives an example for that, and then we are done. So let's go back into our graphics creation software to create the birds, and after that we go into our animation software to proceed with the animation. So here we are in our graphics creation software or Adobe Illustrator, where we are going to create bird 1 and bird 2. So to begin with, I'm going to create a new artboard using just any dimension. Then I pick my pen tool and ensure that it has no fill, but it has a black stroke. So the first bird we are creating is wings fully spread. So I'm just going to click at one point and click and hold to form a curve for the other point, and then I press V or escape to take this off. Next, I click away and click on the stroke I've created once again, and then I have these options at the top. Drop down the size and select 20. Let me increase it to 30. Then from the type of stroke, I select profile 4. I need this to go the other way around, so I go to object, path, and select reverse path direction. Still with the object selected, I go to object, transform, reflect. Now from the menu here, I select copy so that I have a second version. Then I hold down shift whilst I drag it to the other side, and then when the corners meet at the bottom, I release. So I select everything now, go back to object and expand appearance. So we are converting this into a shape. So it's now a shape. Yes. So now I pick my free shape builder tool, sorry, and I zoom in and I take these two portions out by holding minus, holding down alt so that the minus shows, and this one too goes away. And we zoom out, select the entire shape, and in my pathfinder here I click on unite, so it's one shape now. And go ahead and save the bed as an SVG. So I'm saving it as bed underscore one underscore, then I add my center number and imaginary candidate number and save. Click OK. So I'm going to repeat the process for bed 2. So I'm going to delete bed 1, pick the pen tool again, make sure the fill is not active, stroke is black, so this is wings raised. So let's save bed 2. Save as this time around so that we don't overwrite the other one, and then I just change the number from 1 to 2, and then we save. So let's go into our animation software. So as required, our stage size should be 500 by 500, so I'm going to change the dimensions, and I'll keep the frame rate at 30. Click on create. I'm going to check the size and select fit to window, so that the entire stage shows. And first things first, let's import our images. So I'm going to first import everything to the library, and then we bring the images to each layer when required. So here we have our images here. So we have island, which needs to be imported, and then tree 1, tree 2. Okay, so let's go ahead with the island first. So I'm going to select import all parts into the same layer, and I'm going to click and drag it onto our stage. Now there's one thing I want you to take note of. Look at the gradient of the island sky. When you compare it to what was provided in the question, you realize that when we imported, the gradient has changed. When we look at what we created in the graphics software, you realize that there was this yellow to orange to something darker showing here. But when we imported it, the gradient changed. So to fix this problem, or when you face this problem, I suggest you come back to your graphics software, which is Illustrator, and export your image as a PNG. Yes, make sure the background is transparent and click OK. Now we go back to our Animate software, select this layer and click on the dustbin to delete it, and then go into the library and delete what you've imported. Back to File, Import to Library, and then this time around we select the island in PNG format and we drag and drop it onto our stage. Now click anywhere, go to Properties, click anywhere, like anywhere beneath the layer so that these properties appear, and let's change the stage color as required to black. Next, we need to import our trees, so we import those into the library as well. Import to library. Let's look for the trees. So yeah, we have tree 1 here and tree 2. Open, import all parts into the same layer, and do that for this as well. So we go into the library and we have tree 1 and tree 2 there. And let's create a layer for them as we bring them onto the stage. So we create another layer. So let me name this tree 1 or tree_1. And let me name this island. Select tree 1 layer and let's click and drag it and drop it onto our scene. Position and resize it. You can hold shift so that it doesn't distort. Create another layer. Let's rename this tree_2. We are doing this for easy identification. Drag tree 2, drop it onto the stage. Position it as it should, or it should match the way it looks in the question paper. And I think this should come back a bit, and then tree 1, I'm going to bring it back a bit like this. And the next thing we need to import, the beds. We need to import the beds. So File, Import to Library, bed 1, bed 2, open. I'm going to create layers for them as well. Or we are going to create just a layer, just one layer. And we are going to name the layer Flights. and the layer is supposed to be behind the trees because you're going to fly behind the trees. So I'm dropping the layer beneath tree 1 layer. Now let's create one additional layer and name this layer path. Now I'm going to pick my pen tool and with reference to the question, let's draw the path the bird will follow. So it will begin from somewhere here. So you can click, and then it will end somewhere here, and then you create your curve, click and drag to create your curve, and that's it. Just click on your selection tool and then you have your path there. So this is just a guide which will help you in positioning your birds as you animate them. So let's make a quick reference to the question. Now it says the bird must enter from the left and appear to fly into the distance. It must pass behind a palm tree and take 7 seconds to leave the frame. So each position will represent a second. Apart from the first one, which will start from 0, this one, 1 second, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it means by the 7th second, we should be out of the frame. So since the animation is going to last for 7 seconds, let's go to our timeline and look for the 7-second mark and extend our scenes that are not going to be animated for that duration. So I'll click on the island layer. I'll hold down Control. I'll leave out the flight layer. Click on the path layer. Tree 1, tree 2. I'm holding Control whilst I'm doing all this. And select frame, just frame. Not keyframe or blank frame, just frame. So for the entire 7 seconds, you still have your trees, your island scene, and then the path. So let's come back to the beginning of earlier where we have a blank frame on the flight and we drag bird 1 and drop it onto our scene. But before we do that, let me do a quick Control Z. Make sure the flight layer is selected. So for us to see what we are doing as well, I'm going to click outside, go to the properties and change the stage to white. So when we are done, we come back here and change it to black before we convert to GIF. So with my flight layer selected, I go back into library, select bird 1, drag and drop it here. Use the free transform tool and hold down shift whilst I resize it and tilt it a little bit like this, and I place it somewhere here because that is where it's going to begin from. Next, I go to the 1 second mark And from the keyframe menu, I select blank keyframe. And on that blank keyframe, I bring in bed 2. I also hold down shift whilst I resize it and place it here. Now what we have for now is just a straightforward animation. So we need to tween so that the animation looks smooth. And to change from one shape to another, the best option is to use a shape tween. So let's right click anywhere in between, and then you realize that shape tween is not enabled. So to fix this, we need to convert our shapes that we brought in, or our beds that we brought in, so bed 1, we need to convert it to a shape. So we right click and we say break apart. Right click once again, break apart again. So when you see this, it's fully a shape now. Go to bed 2, select bed 2, break apart twice. So we have it in a shape form now. So now if I go in between, my shape tween is active. So I click on create. So I have this first animation showing. So I go to position 2, insert another blank keyframe, come back to position 1 because we are going to use bed 1. Click on a bed 1 so that it's selected. Press Ctrl and C to copy. Come to where the blank keyframe is. Press Ctrl V to paste. Now pick your selection tool and reposition it to where it should be. Now note that this time around we need to, let's increase the size so that we can see what we are doing. We need to reduce the size a bit because it's flying into the distance. So we reduce the size and reposition it. And then click on the layer in between to form our shape tween. So from this, it goes back to this again. And then we go to 3-second mark. And then we need to bring in bed 2 there. So click on the keyframe of bed 2. Control C. Make sure that is selected. Yeah, Control C. So while it's on the clipboard, go to 3-second mark, insert a blank keyframe and Control V. So we position this, I think this goes somewhere here. Hold down shift whilst you reduce the size. Click on the layers, click on the layer in between and create the shape tween. So we have this, going back to this again. Then we go to 4-second mark, insert a blank keyframe, come back and look for the previous bed 1 Yeah, this one. Click on the keyframe so that it's selected. Press Ctrl C. Come back to your blank keyframe. Click on it. Press Ctrl V and use your selection tool to place it. I think this one is behind this leaf at a further reduced size. Click on the layer and let's form the shape tween. So we have this going into this, and then we have 5-second mark. Insert blank keyframe. Copy the previous bed to this one. Ctrl C once again. Go to the blank keyframe. Ctrl V, and let's position it where it's supposed to be, somewhere here. And let's reduce the size further. Click in between to form our shape tween. And six, blank keyframe. Select previous bed 1. Click on the keyframe there, press Ctrl C to copy, and come to the blank keyframe, Ctrl V to paste. Use the selection tool to position it. I think this is way by the edge, and reduce the size. Let me increase the size so that I see here. So I think this is okay. Create our shape tween, and the last one, create another blank keyframe. Select bed 2, Ctrl C, Ctrl V to paste. And this one is out of the screen, so this one we can just place it anywhere here. And let's create the shape tween for that as well. Okay, so there it goes. So let's resize our artboard to fit, or our stage to fit. Let's try and run a quick test or a preview. Okay, so we don't need a path, so we can select the path layer, can delete the path layer. Yeah, so that goes away. And then when we run our test, it's supposed to have something like this. And let's come back to rechanging, or let's change the stage color once again to black, and run a test once again. So we made the stage black so that we can have a preview of how our actual animation will look like. But let's actually give it a black background. So to do that, we create another layer. So this layer is going to be beneath all the layers, and we can call this background. So after naming our layer background, let's move our playhead to the beginning of the animation, and then we pick our rectangle tool, ensure that the fill is black and has no stroke, and from the top left corner, hold down shift and let's draw as we draw our square. So let's save our animation as an animated GIF with the required name. So I'll go to File, Export, select Animated GIF, leave all the settings as they are, and then just click Save. And when this pops up, just select the appropriate folder and start typing the name as required. It's Island Scene. Okay, I already have Island Scene that we created in Illustrator. So I just take off the SVG and click on Save. So I would like to give you a thumbs up if you were able to follow through the entire tutorial from part 1 and this part. And I would also like to wish all Cambridge A-level students who are writing their IT practical paper next month all the best. If you are watching my video for the first time, make sure you like and subscribe and share. Till we meet in the next tutorial, it's bye.